The stars were calm that night. Space, quiet and black, held its breath. Far away from Earth, on a strange planet called Corthax, something was about to change. A young human man named Jake Carter stood in front of a strange building. His boots crunched on the purple sand. Above him, 3 moons hung low in the sky, glowing like giant eyes. Jake looked tired. He had traveled light years to get here, searching for a quiet life. He had one bag, a translator chip in his ear, and not much money. Behind the door stood his new landlady, Vryla, an alien nearly 7 feet tall, covered in smooth green scales. Her eyes blinked sideways. She looked at Jake like he was a bug. "You're the human?" she asked. Jake smiled nervously. "Yeah, I saw your ad. Said you rent to all species." Vryla hissed low. "Most species. Humans are complicated." Jake held up his hands. "I'm clean. Pay rent. I don't start trouble." Vryla stared for a long second, then stepped aside. "Fine. But no weird Earth stuff." As Jake entered the building, he felt eyes on him. Down the hallway, behind doors and cracks, alien neighbors peeked out. Some looked curious, others afraid. Jake ignored them. He just wanted sleep. Later that night, Corthax shook. Not from thunder, not from music, but from war. Somewhere in orbit, a group of strange ships had appeared. They didn't respond to any signals. No flags, no warnings, just silence. Then, a single message came through. "We seek the human." The city council was confused. The only human in the sector was Jake. Sirens rang across the skies. Defense towers lit up. Every eye turned toward the small, rented apartment. Vryla banged on Jake's door. "What did you do? Why is an alien fleet asking for you?" Jake blinked, half asleep. "What? I just moved in. I didn't do anything." Above the city, alien warships circled like birds of prey. Soldiers in armor marched on the ground, scanning every building. The neighbors panicked. Some blamed Jake. Others just ran. Jake stepped outside, hands raised. "I don't know what you want," he shouted to the sky. A huge hologram appeared in the air. An alien general, with blue skin and glowing red eyes, stared at him. "You carry the forbidden code," the general said. "It is in your blood." Jake's eyes widened. "What code? I'm just human." Vryla looked at him with fear. The neighbors whispered. Who was Jake, really? And what secret was hidden inside him? Jake stood frozen. The giant red-eyed alien on the hologram had just accused him of carrying something dangerous. Something called the Forbidden Code. But Jake didn't even know what that meant. "I'm just a mechanic," he said, confused. "I fix engines. I don't carry codes." The alien general's eyes glowed brighter. "Your species is not what it seems. We will take you for testing." Then the hologram vanished. Vryla, the landlady, turned to him slowly. Her face was pale green now, the color of fear. "You really don't know, do you?" she said quietly. Jake frowned. "Know what?" Vryla glanced around, then pulled him back inside the apartment. Inside, she locked the door and pressed a strange blue panel on the wall. The room shimmered, and suddenly, everything outside went silent. "A sound shield," she explained, "so no one hears us." She sat down, tail twitching nervously. "You humans," she began, "have strange bodies. You look weak, soft skin, no claws, no scales, but you survive. Everywhere." Jake shrugged. "Yeah, we're good at not dying." Vryla gave him a sharp look. "Do you know why?" Jake shook his head. Vryla sighed. "Because your DNA is different. Hidden deep inside it is something ancient, something powerful. The last time it activated, it destroyed a whole planet." Jake stared. "Wait, what?" She stood and walked toward him slowly. "That fleet outside," she said. "They fear what's inside you. They think it's waking up again." Jake backed away. "I didn't sign up for this. I just wanted to rent a quiet place." Vryla gave a low chuckle. Too late. Suddenly, there was a pounding on the door. Jake jumped. Vryla stood calmly. It's my niece. She's a biology student. She'll scan you. Jake blinked. Scan me? No way. The door opened before he could finish. In walked a young alien girl, purple-skinned, with 4 eyes and a device in her hands. Hi, she said cheerfully. You must be the dangerous human. Jake groaned. Please stop saying that. She held up the device. This won't hurt. Just hold still. Jake sat down as she ran the scanner over him. The screen lit up. Alert. Unlocked gene detected. Her eyes widened. Oh. Jake stood. What now? Vryla looked at the screen. Your body has started to activate the gene. You're changing. Jake looked down at himself. I don't feel any different. Vryla gave a slow nod. You will. A loud boom shook the building. Outside, something exploded. The aliens had begun their attack. Vryla's niece whispered. They're not coming to test you anymore. They're coming to kill you. The walls shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Jake stumbled backward as the scanner beeped louder. Vryla's niece slammed it shut. They've locked on to your genetic signal, she said. They're tracking you directly now. Jake's heart pounded. How far are they? Vryla looked out the window. Too close. Outside, robotic soldiers were dropping from the sky. 6-legged machines with glowing red eyes. Civilians screamed and ran as the sector lit up with lasers and fire. The warships had begun their invasion. Jake grabbed his bag. All right, this rental sucks. I'm moving out. Vryla blocked the door. Not like that, you're not. She opened a hidden panel in the floor. A glowing tunnel appeared. Old smuggling route, she said. Goes under Sector 9. Jake raised an eyebrow. You smuggled things? Vryla shrugged. I had a life before renting apartments. Vryla's niece handed Jake a small device. This will confuse their scanners. You've got about 20 minutes before it burns out. Great, Jake muttered. Love a deadline. They climbed down into the tunnel. It was narrow and full of weird slime. The lights flickered with every step. As they ran, Jake asked, So what happens if this gene inside me fully activates? Vryla's niece hesitated. No one knows. It's ancient, buried in your species for thousands of years. Some say it's a weapon. Others think it's a memory. Jake frowned. A memory? Not just yours, she replied. The memory of something Earth forgot. They reached a fork in the tunnel. Vryla pointed left. That way leads to the transport depot. We get you off-world. Suddenly, clang! A robot dropped through the ceiling. It scanned the group. Target locked. Human subject. Jake didn't wait. He threw his duffel bag at the bot's face. It stumbled. Vryla lunged forward and slammed it against the wall with her tail. The bot sparked and hissed. Vryla's niece pulled out a mini blaster and fired. A clean shot right through the core. The bot dropped. Jake looked at her. You said you were just a biology student. She grinned. It's an elective. More banging echoed down the tunnel. Reinforcements were coming. Vryla pushed Jake. Go. Run now. Jake hesitated. You're coming, right? Vryla shook her head. I'll slow them down. Jake looked at her one last time, then ran. Up ahead, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber filled with old transport pods. Most were broken. One glowed green. Jake ran to it, jumped inside, and slammed the button. The pod hummed. Engines started. Outside the tunnel, red lights appeared. The bots were closing in. The pod shot forward through the underground tube, blasting Jake into the unknown. As the stars lit up outside the pod's window, Jake leaned back, heart still racing. He looked at the device Vryla's niece had given him. A new signal had appeared on it. Coordinates. It read, Find the others. Jake blinked. There are more like me? The pod flew through the darkness of space like a lost bullet. Jake sat quietly, still breathing hard. His thoughts spun in circles. He had come to this planet to escape life on Earth. Boring job, no family, no future. Now, aliens were trying to kill him, saying he carried some ancient code in his blood. A war had started. Because of him. The pod screen blinked. Incoming destination Moon Base Theta. Jake raised an eyebrow. Didn't sign up for space tourism, he muttered. The pod landed with a soft thud. The airlock hissed open. Jake stepped out onto a gray moon, orbiting some unknown planet. The ground crunched under his boots. It was cold, silent. In front of him stood an old station, half-buried, rusted, with vines growing over the walls. Strange. A moon with plants? He approached slowly. The door opened with a creak. Inside was darkness until lights flickered on. A voice spoke through a speaker. "Welcome, human. We've been waiting." Jake froze. "Who's there?" Footsteps echoed. From the shadows, a figure stepped out. She looked a human, but not completely. Her eyes were golden. Her skin shimmered faintly like light passing through water. "Name's Kale. You're late." Jake blinked. "Wait, you're human?" Kale smiled. "Not exactly. I'm what humans become when the code activates fully." Jake stared. "So, there really are others?" Kale nodded. "There were. Long ago, Earth scientists discovered the code. They tried to use it, but it was too powerful. So they buried it inside human DNA. Locked it. Forgot it." Jake frowned. "Why?" "Because it wasn't just a weapon," she said. "It was something older. Alien. Not meant for control." Kale walked up to him and scanned his wrist with a small device. The screen glowed. Her eyes widened. "You're not just activated. You're evolving faster than any of us did." Jake stepped back. "What does that mean?" Kale looked at him seriously. "It means you'll be stronger, smarter, maybe even dangerous. Or maybe you'll break." Jake's chest tightened. "So I'm just a science experiment now?" Kale shook her head. "No. You're a survivor. Like all of us." She gestured behind her. A large door opened. Inside were dozens of others. Some looked mostly human. Some didn't. All of them stared at Jake. "You're not alone," Kale said gently. "But time is short. That fleet that chased you? They found this place before. And they will again." Jake looked at the others. They were like him, or what he might become. But were they friends? Or something else? Outside the moon base, far above the orbit, red lights blinked on. The alien fleet had tracked him again. The moon base went into lockdown. Red lights flashed. Sirens echoed through the cold halls. Kale moved fast, barking orders. Jake stood still in the middle of the crowd, his hands shaking. His body felt hot, but the room was freezing. Something was changing inside him. His heartbeat was louder than the alarms. His vision blurred, then sharpened again, too sharp. He could see the tiny cracks in the wall, hear the whisper of metal plates cooling. "Make it stop," Jake whispered. Kale rushed to his side. "The code is unlocking. Your body is adapting." "I didn't ask for this," he said, voice cracking. Kale nodded. "None of us did." She guided him into a sealed chamber. White walls, bright lights, a scanner above. "You'll be safe in here during the phase," she said. Jake staggered forward. His skin was glowing faintly. His fingers trembled like static. Suddenly, he screamed. Memories that weren't his began flooding in. Planets he'd never seen. Languages he didn't know. Battles he never fought. He saw creatures made of light. And a machine so large it cracked a star in half. "What is this?" Jake cried out. "The genetic memory," Kale said through the speaker. "It's not human. It's from the architects." Jake fell to his knees. The architects, an ancient race that disappeared millions of years ago. But before they vanished, they hid their knowledge. Inside a species they barely understood. Inside humanity. Outside the chamber, Kale turned to her second-in-command. "He's more connected than I thought. Will he survive it?" the assistant asked. Kale's face was unreadable. "If he doesn't, we all die." Inside, Jake's eyes opened wide. They were no longer brown, but silver and glowing. The walls around him began to tremble. Not from outside, but from him. The machines in the room began turning on by themselves. Screens flashed symbols. One screen displayed a new message. Awakening phase. Complete. Jake stood. Taller. Stronger. Something else entirely. Kale entered the room carefully. Jake? He looked at her, but something was different. I remember now, he said. Remember what? Jake raised his hand. A small hologram appeared above his palm. Maps, energy patterns, coordinates. I remember what the architects were protecting, he said slowly. Kale stepped back. What is it? Jake looked up at her. A weapon. One that can destroy galaxies. In orbit, the alien fleet leader stared at the moon base on the screen. He has awakened, he growled. Send everything. End him now. The alien fleet descended like a storm. 50 warships. Thousands of robotic soldiers. Laser cannons locked on the moon base. Inside, alarms screamed. Kale's people scrambled into defense positions. Shields hummed. Weapons charged. Jake stood at the center of it all, calm, glowing faintly with silver light. His eyes still held the storm of alien memories. Ancient knowledge flowed through him like fire. Kale approached. They're bringing everything. They're afraid of you. Jake nodded. Good. He stepped forward and raised his hand. A ripple of energy pulsed out from him. No machine touched. Yet every screen in the base flickered and turned blue. The code was now part of him. And it was talking. A new message blinked onto the command screen. Signal beacon active. Kale's eyes widened. You activated the final signal? Jake looked at her. I didn't. It did. Far across the galaxy, in a hidden sector known only to a few, something ancient stirred. A sleeping machine, the size of a continent, lit up for the first time in 100,000 years. Gears turned. Stars dimmed. The final weapon of the architects had been found. And it was waking up. Back on the moon base, explosions rocked the outer shields. The alien fleet had begun its assault. Kale's people fired back. Drones raced through space, dodging enemy blasts. Inside the command room, Jake stood still. He was listening. Not with ears, but with something deeper. He could feel the signal. Pulling him, calling him. Kale stepped beside him. If you follow that signal, there's no turning back. Jake nodded. I know. But if we don't reach it first, they will. And if they activate the weapon. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Kale handed him a device. Take my ship. Go. We'll hold them off. Jake looked at her. You won't survive this. Kale smiled sadly. We never planned to. Jake sprinted to the launch bay. Behind him, the base shook again. Walls cracking. Fire spreading. As he jumped into the ship, Kale's voice echoed through the comms. Remember, Jake, you're not just human anymore. You're what comes after. The ship launched. Through the flames. Through the war. Into the stars. Above the battlefield, the alien general watched Jake's ship break through. Too late, he growled. Lock on. Send interceptors. But the ship blinked, vanished into light. Jake had activated a jump gate, only accessible by the architect's code. Only he could follow the path now. Only he could reach what waited at the end of the signal. Inside the speeding vessel, Jake looked at the blinking star map. Final destination, the core forge. Status: unknown. Access: human DNA match confirmed. Jake leaned back, eyes glowing brighter. Let's end this. The stars around the ship bent like liquid as it exited the jump gate. Jake stared through the window, speechless. Before him floated the core forge, an artificial planet forged from black stone and golden circuits. Pulsed like a heart in space. Built by the architects. Forgotten by time. A voice echoed in his mind, not his own. You carry the code. You are the key. Enter and choose. The ship guided itself, docking at a circular port that shimmered with light. Jake stepped out. The ground under his boots was warm, humming. Every step he took awakened old systems. Lights blinked to life. Symbols glowed across the walls. A giant door opened silently. Inside stood a throne made of crystal and light. And next to it, the alien general. Jake froze. The enemy was already here. The tall alien, now unmasked, looked ancient. His eyes black as space, but filled with rage and regret. Human, you should have stayed hidden. Jake clenched his fists. You started a war over something you didn't understand. The general sneered. We understood perfectly. That code in your blood? It ends empires. It rewrites worlds. Jake stepped forward, light crackling around him. Maybe the galaxy needs rewriting. The general charged. Jake didn't move. He simply glowed, and the entire chamber reacted. The floor lifted him. Energy spun around his arms. His voice became layered, part human, part something older. You fear me because I am what comes next. The general struck. But Jake caught the blow midair, barehanded. He twisted, sent the general flying into the wall. The core forge responded to Jake. Symbols rising from the floor, floating, spinning around him. Choose, said the voice again. Reboot, destroy, or evolve. Jake stood silently as the general got up, bleeding. If you activate it, the general growled. You become something else. Not human. Jake's hands trembled. He looked down at them, no longer fully flesh. Energy pulsed through his veins. I didn't ask for this, he said. But you were chosen, the voice replied. Because humanity never stopped adapting. Jake stepped onto the platform. The forge reacted, walls shifting, a beam of light shooting into the sky. The galaxy shook. Every ship, from enemy fleet to distant colonies, felt the wave. Not destruction, not conquest, but awakening. Across planets, humans began to stir. Something inside them itched. A voice whispered. A memory returned. They were not weak, not small. They were unfinished. The general dropped his weapon. He understood now. It wasn't a war. It was a beginning. He looked up at Jake, floating in the heart of the forge. You are the Starborn. Jake opened his eyes, now fully silver. No, he said softly. I am human. He touched the core. Light exploded. Some say the galaxy changed that day. Some say a new era began. One where humans stood not at the bottom, but among the stars.